they're still piddling around. They're not cutting back anything. I mean, have they shrunk the size of government? Are they advising that we bring these troops home and change our foreign policy and at least get the Fed audited? Maybe someday we'll get rid of the Fed. They continue to do it, but the good news is there's a lot of people like you that are waking up. I'll tell you what, there's a change, there's a dramatic change from 4 years ago till now. It was gradual. I said before that I talked about this for a lot of years, but it was small. And I always worked on the assumption, well, my responsibility is to set a record, talk about it, do it the right way, and maybe somebody will notice. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people noticing right now. And it's not so much that I give any grand speeches, but there's a desperate need for this right now. There's a real need, economic. People know we have to cut back and do the things necessary to have free markets and protect personal liberty and come up with a more sensible foreign policy. Debt, though, I want to gradually work out of this, but debt always gets liquidated when it gets to a certain amount. So when it's over the top, like it is, $15 trillion, all this money, we cannot, eventually pay all this off. So governments know this too, but they don't default like we can. Individuals can go through bankruptcy and default, which is at times necessary. But what governments do is they never do that. They will always send a check out. If you buy a treasury bill and if you have a treasury note now of 10 years and you cash it in 10 years, you'll probably get maybe you'll get $1,000 worth of purchasing power, or even less because of the way we're going. But that's the way government gets rid of debt. They borrow money and give you back money that has less value. So if you can devalue 50%, you write out half our national debt. That's their goal. That's what they're trying to do. Why that is so bad is some people suffer more than others. The people who get to use that new money for benefit, once again, it's the banks and the big corporations and Wall Streets and governments and the politicians. When it circulates, you get the bad effects because your prices go up. And this is what they're working on, is the devaluation of the currency, and they will continue to bail out everybody as long as people will accept the dollars. But the people are recognizing this. But the groups are getting larger. There's a lot more interest, and I'm very excited about the fact that the young people are looking at this too. We love you, Lord! Because the young people, I think, sort of perked up, and I think they might have been educated in schools, and they might have had less education than at some other time in our history, but they still know arithmetic, and they know they're getting a bad deal. Freedom truly is popular, and young people, I think, seem to like consistency and principle. But there's a few people here that might not be considered college students. But for those, they're young at heart, and they believe in liberty. So we're all in this together, and I'll tell you what, we're making a lot of progress. And it won't be easy. But I know if we don't do it, if we don't work our way out of this, it's going to be much, much tougher. Because I'm afraid of violence coming. You see what the government is preparing for, and the arrests and military law, and the demonstrations on the streets. Some people aren't going to be convinced so easily that you don't owe them a living. And if there's no money there, they're going to be upset and angry. We see this in Europe already, and we see demonstrations in our country. I think we should make sure that when we demonstrate, because I have obviously sympathies for the Tea Party movement, and even a lot of what the Occupy movement is doing, because they're sick and tired of getting ripped off. But there's a difference between somebody earning money, becoming wealthy, because they provide a good product for you, and you vote for them by buying their product, and they don't get any benefits from the government. That's okay in my book. But if they get rich because they rip us off and they get the tax minutes and the contracts and the military industrial complex and the bankers, story. So I think it's important to separate the two and know what we're going after. And yet, we can usually sort this all out by understanding what liberty is, what the founders gave us. They gave us limited government. It was to limit the government, not to limit the people. You're not to be limited. You're to be protected. You're in a free society. You're allowed to make your own mistakes. When you make your own mistakes, you might have to suffer the consequences. If you deliver the power to Washington, D.C., they have two problems. One, they don't know what is good for you, and two, even if they thought they did, they're going to make mistakes. And when they do it, it affects all of us. So this is the big difference. No, you don't have a perfect society when you have a free society, because people will make a lot of mistakes. But the big thing is, it's so much wealthier, and there's so many other things that can be done. There's so much more chance for charity. And when I even got into medicine, we didn't have government medicine. The churches ran the hospitals. And the churches, would take care of the people that couldn't afford it. But today, the more government's involved, all we do is shoot up the prices. So it will work. We need confidence. We've had a great test of this. We had the best test in the history of mankind. We had the freest and the most prosperous society. And what I see, what we're doing is we're allowing this to go away. And we have to reverse this. And the smoother we can do this, the better. But the more chaotic it is, the more risk we have, because more laws are going to be put on the books, when it comes to law and order and what we're going to do. But ultimately, the defense of our liberties, as the founders understood very clearly, they thought it was very important that we maintain an ability of self-defense. So they were very, very direct in that, in writing the Second Amendment for our ultimate defense. Though there's reasons to be concerned and worried, I really believe that there's reason for a lot of optimism. It's serious business, and strong advice I give to people who get involved in politics or education or trying in one way or the other to improve our society is that come together with like-minded people, even though you might have different interests in different churches. Bring people together, because the real issue is the protection of liberty. And we ought to have fun doing this, because it is hard and tedious work, and we don't know what tomorrow will bring. Nobody knows what tomorrow will bring for any of us. But I have such a strong belief and strong conviction that a free society is the best thing that mankind can offer for the best chance to produce peace and prosperity. Thank you very much.